Today you are going to be taking your Unit 11 test. We are going to start with the vocabulary section. Make sure that your first and last name is at the top of your test. For questions 1 through 7, they are each worth 1 point. The words that you will select come from the word bank in the box above. The words you can pick from are going to be biased sample, biased survey question, box plot, dot plot, population, sample, random sample, frequency, inference, inner quartile range, quartile, and variability. In question number 1, we are looking for the word that fits a blank does not represent the population. Make your choice from the words above and write it on the line. For question number 2, it is the group being studied. This is the whole group being studied. From the choices above, pick the word that best fits and write it on the line. In question number 3, this is a conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. From the choices above, which one best fits a conclusion? Number 4, this sways people to respond in a certain way. Make your choice and write it on the line. Question number 5, this visually represents the frequency of data results. Make your choice from above and write it on the line. Number 6, how often each item or event occurs is called the what. Make your choice and write it on the line. Question number 7, a blank summarizes data over a number line to show the distribution and spread of the data. Pick your word from the box above and write it on the line. In questions 8, 9, and 10, they are going to be definitions that you write in your own words. There are 2 blanks for each, which means they are going to be worth 2 points each. In question number 8, random sample, it says each item or person in the population has a blank blank to be chosen as any other. Think about your definition for random sample and what 2 words would you best fill in those blanks with. Question number 9 is your definition for sample, a blank of the population that is being blank. Fill in the blanks with the words you think best fit. And question number 10, inner quartile range is the difference between what 2 things? Once again, fill in the 2 blanks. Double check that you picked the word that best fits in the blank. Make sure that you wrote your answers over on the sides. And once you are finished with the vocabulary section, you can turn to the multiplication section of the test and we'll get going on that. This is the multiple choice section of the test. The directions say, fill in the correct answer on your Scantron sheet. Show all your work. Each answer is worth 2 points. Depending on the question and the amount of work required to answer the question will depend on the amount of points that you will receive for showing your work. Question number 1 says, a survey found that 4 out of 7 people in a community jog on a regular basis. If there are 3,150 people in the community, what is a reasonable prediction for the number of people who would jog regularly? Notice that you will get 2 points for showing your work. We are recommending that you set up a proportion. So this question is worth a total of 4 points, 2 for the work, 2 for the answer. Question number 2 says, a survey found that 2 out of 8 students do not own a pet. If there are 480 students in a school, what is a reasonable prediction for the number of students who do not own a pet? This question is actually worth 5 points. The 2 points, of course, will be for the correct answer, and then you will get 3 total points for the work. Once again, we are recommending that you set up a proportion and then show the work needed for solving the proportion. Question number 3 says, the number of runs scored per game by this year's school's baseball team and softball team are listed below. And you can see that there's a raw data set for baseball and the raw data set for softball. The question is, which statement correctly uses a measure of center to compare the two teams? Measure of center relates to mean and median. So 4 points of the 6 points for this question will come from finding the mean of the baseball team and the median of the baseball team. You also need to do the same thing for the softball team. You need to find the mean of the softball team and the median of the softball team. That's 4 of the points. And then the last 2 points will come from making your choice based off of the mean and median of both. Is it A, the team scored the same number of runs per game because the median is the same? Is it B, the team scored the same number of runs per game because the mean runs scored for each team is the same? Is it C, the baseball team scored more runs per game than the softball team scored because the baseball team played more games than the softball team played? Or is it D, the softball team scored more runs per game than the baseball team scored because the mode for the softball team is greater than the mode for the baseball team? So you need to look at your means, your medians, and see which statement most accurately reflects those results. Question number 4 is only worth 2 points. It says Brandon wants to conduct a survey as to whether mushrooms should be added to the pizza sold in the school cafeteria. Which sampling method will offer Brandon the best results? Is it A, interview every vegetarian student, B, interview every student at a pizza parlor, C, interview every student who brings lunch from home, or is it D, interview every student who eats lunch in the cafeteria? Make your choice. Question number 5 is also worth 2 points. It says, Ava surveys a large number of students at a movie theater about their favorite weekend activity. The table below shows the results of her survey. Based on the results of her survey, Ava concludes that the favorite weekend activity of most students is watching movies. Which statement best describes Ava's conclusion? Is it A, Ava's conclusion is not valid because she surveyed only students? Is it B, Ava's conclusion is valid because she surveyed a large number of students? Is it C, Ava's conclusion is valid because she surveyed students from many schools? Or is it D, Ava's conclusion is not valid because she surveyed students at a movie theater? I would start by first making my choice. Is the conclusion valid or not valid? That will narrow it down to 2 choices. After you've narrowed it down based on whether it's valid or not valid, you need to pick the one that best backs up your reasoning. The next question says, a grocery store manager selected 100 customers at random to ask each customer what the maximum price is that he or she would pay for a box of a new cereal. The box and whisker plot summarizes the data. The manager wants to set the price so 50% of the customers are willing to pay for the new cereal. Based on the information shown in the box and whisker plot, what is the maximum amount the manager should set as the price for the new cereal? If he sets the price at $2.60, at most are 50% of the customers willing to pay that? Or should he set it at $3 or $3.25? Or should he set it at $3.50? Once again, this question is only worth 2 points. Question number 7 is also worth 2 points. It says the double line plot shows the number of text messages 2 groups of students reported that they sent in one day. You can see the dot plot for group 1 on the top, and underneath is the dot plot for group 2. The question says, which of the following statements is true? Is it A, the mean for group 1 is larger than the mean for group 2? Group 2 has a greater median number of texts that were sent. The interquartile ranges are equal. Is it C, the median for group 1 is larger than the median for group 2? Or is it both sets of data are symmetric? You should use the mean to compare the measures of center and the mean absolute deviation to compare the variations. Which of those 4 choices makes the statement true? Question number 8 says, 4 candidates are running for school president. A random sample of the students at the school are surveyed about which of the candidates they are likely to choose. The chart below shows the number of students from the random sample who choose each candidate. You can see that Deb received 10 of the votes, Janelle 20, Rashid 12, and Perry 8. What was the total number of students surveyed? You need to know that in order to answer the question. There are a total of 800 students expected to vote in the election for school president. Based on the information in the chart, which election outcome is likely? Your answer is worth 2 points, and you need 2 points to, or you need work to show your answer, and that's worth 2 points. You have 4 choices here. The first 2 say Rashid will win. The second 2 say Janelle will win. So just looking at the sample, you will be able to eliminate 2 of the 4 choices based off of who is projected to win. After you figure out who is projected to win, you need to figure out how many votes that person will receive or how many more that person will receive from the other. So, part A says Rashid will win with 192 votes. B, Rashid will win with 189 more votes than he had in the survey. C says Janelle will win with 8 more votes than the second place finisher, Rashid. Or the final choice is D, Janelle will win with 128 more votes than the second place finisher, Rashid. Question number 9 is a 3-part question here. It says that you need to determine whether each conclusion is valid, and not only do you need to state whether it's valid or invalid, but you also need to state why. You need to have some sort of justification. Some things to think about when justifying your answer are, does it fit one of the types of samples that we talked about? Is it a simple random sample? Is it a systematic random sample? Is it just a convenience sample? So those are some things to think about. The other thing you could think about is, does the sample match the population? If the sample doesn't match the population, remember that would be grounds for something being invalid. Okay, so let's get started. Part A says, Mr. Dotson wants to know if the neighbors on his street would be interested in a community watch. He surveys every third household on the street and concluded that 70% would be interested. Is this valid or invalid, and why? That's worth 2 points. Part B says, Malaya wrote a survey question in the newspaper about changing the school colors. 90% of those who responded in an email said they should be changed. She concludes then that 90% of the student body wants the color changed. Is this valid or is this invalid? And then you need to state why you made your choice. Part C says, to determine what park visitors like, every 10th visitor is surveyed at the park entrance. Out of 180 visitors, 22% said they would like to have more walking paths. The park manager concludes that about 1/5 of all park visitors would like to have more walking paths. Is this conclusion valid or is it invalid? Once again, you need to state a reason why you picked valid or invalid. The last question says, the line plot below shows the number of fiction books read by one 7th grade class. The teacher says the average number of books read is 6.5. Explain how this could be misleading. This question is worth 9 points altogether because there are different ways that you can find a measure of central tendency. One way is to find the mean of the data. So 3 points are going to come from finding the mean. You need to know the sum. You need to know the number of data points. You need to do something with the sum and data points to come up with the mean. So it's worth 3 points for the mean. You get 1 point for stating the mode, or the most frequently occurring number. 2 points will come from finding the median, or the middle number. There are a couple of different ways we talked about in class for how to find the median when you're given a dot plot. You will also get 1 point for stating which measure the teacher used. Did the teacher use the mean? Did the teacher use the median? Or did the teacher use the mode? Which of those 3 resulted in 6.5? And then you need to state why 6.5 would not accurately represent the average number of books. There is a different measure of central tendency that more accurately fits the data. Which one is that? You will get 2 points for figuring that out and stating. Once you have finished this question, that will conclude the test. I would go back, double check my work, double check my answers, make sure I accurately marked what I wanted, and then hand your test in to the teacher, and you will be finished with the Unit 11 test.